Let's bring in Jess Cagle, who's the editorial director at People magazine. Good morning, sir.
Hi,
Thanks
good
for
morning.
coming in. So she was so open about her personal demons, including, as we've just heard, her drug abuse and her depression. Do you think that honesty is part of why people love her so much, and we're seeing this outpouring now?
Absolutely. She was a fascinating character who spoke so openly about being the child of movie stars, about depression and addiction and being bipolar, and spoke so honestly about her mixed feelings about Princess Leia. She was so fiercely intelligent, and she also was a little bit uncomfortable in her own skin. You know, she felt like an outsider, and so she was able to look at her life from the outside and tell us about it in such a compelling, entertaining way.
And she had such a brilliant sense of humor. She once said, quote, "Who wears that much lip gloss into battle?" Speaking about Princess Leia, but really her self-deprecating style, the way she just owned her imperfections, that really helped her to overcome a lot of the problems that she faced.
Right, and that, in addition to Princess Leia, that is a big part of her legacy. You know, yesterday, Anna Marie Cox from MTV started sort of a movement on Twitter where so many people are now coming out about their bipolar disorder. And it's, you know, it's a beautiful legacy that she, in addition to everything else that she did, Princess Leia, and then the books and all the writing that she did, there is this, the fact that she was so honest about mental illness is just incredible.
I think that's a massive contribution. We'll
Yeah,
be talking
huge.
about that throughout the morning. But back to Princess Leia for just a second. There's a great line in the New York Times this morning about Princess Leia, the character. She was, quote, a damsel who could very much deal with her own distress. So even though this was such a legendary role, you mentioned before that Carrie Fisher had some mixed feelings about embodying it.
She did. She knew that it would overshadow everything else that she did. And people were so surprised. You know, 10 years after Star Wars came out, she wrote Postcards from the Edge and showed that there was this whole other side to her, this brilliant writer, this, you know, one of the greatest wits of her age. And that's who she really was, much more than Princess Leia. But I think she ultimately made peace with the character and being identified with it so closely. But also, that character is a great character. I think she realized that. You know, this is a very powerful, you know, she's not a damsel in distress, right? She could handle her own distress and perfectly cast. I mean, George Lucas casting Carrie Fisher, who wasn't the most glamorous, wasn't the prettiest, but she had that thing, she had that strength, and he knew that, and he knew that she would bring that to the character. It was really brilliant.
If anybody wants to know how tough Princess Leia was, just ask Jabba the Hutt. Jess Cagle.
Exactly.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. We'll be talking to you much more throughout the show this morning. And one more note on all of this. Carrie Fisher was actually asked in a recent interview in Rolling Stone whether she feared death, and her response was perfect. I've been there for a couple of people when they were dying. It didn't look like fun, but if I was going to do it, I'd want someone like me around, and I will be there. Another example of her fierce wit.